Welcome. Welcome to the LNH Advertising Fair. The LNH Advertising Fair is a fair where you can promote your stuff and I advertise it for you. It is a platform for people who want to advertise random stuff on a big podium. And here you can advertise your stuff without fearing of some admin deleting it. So, in the first advertising fair, we got 5 to 6 pieces of random stuff, and today we are going to be discussing those. The first is this awesome timeline by Tidewater Ride. The premise is very simple. What if China and Rome swapped places? What if China was never reunified after the Han collapse, and instead individual provinces of China became their own nations, culturally and politically distinct? And what if the Chinese and the Japanese had the Enlightenment, Industrial Revolution, and modernization? And what if Rome was eternal? What if the Roman Empire survived to the present day? What if Europe was never really divided up into various warlords? Instead, the glory of Rome remains eternal. And that is where we begin the timeline in the 1930s. The Roman Empire is ruled by Carolus di Gallia, the National Republicanists under Factionis Nationis. So they have come to power after the recent revolution against the Anshan regime. Rome is now under the rule of the people. Switzerland in this timeline is like the Maoists of our timeline. It is led by the Roman Communalist Party. In Switzerland, they've established their own fortress of communalism, which is basically communism in this timeline. Africa is similar to Xinjiang in our timeline, where it is a vast ex colony of Rome, which is basically large swaths of desert, and now ruled by a warlord. Indeed, Africa, like all the other warlords, only nominally swears fealty to Rome. In reality, all of these warlords are now individual and almost independent. This is similar to the Chinese warlords in our timeline. The Byzantine League is like the Mark League of our timeline. It is ruled by a despot who has his own power base and again who only nominally swears fealty to Rome. Similarly, Illyria is similar to Yunnan, Syria is similar to Guangxi, which is ruled by a progressive warlord who cares about his people. England is the Japan of this timeline. The English took inspiration from the Chinese and Japanese and they rapidly moved forward and industrialized themselves. In the 1860s, there was a restoration of the emperor where the old feudal nobility was completely subsided and the English king took over and has been ruling as an absolute monarch since then. Deutschland is similar to Manchukuo of our timeline. The Habsburgs, emperors of Deutschland, once ruled as Roman imperators, but after they were removed by the Republican Revolution, they moved to their old power base in Deutschland. Now they are nothing but mere puppets of the English. The remaining warlords like Pannonia, Dacia, Hemutia, and Scythia are minor warlords which have separated themselves after the fall of Rome. Deutschland, England, Nordland, Somaliland, and Vinland are part of the Greater Nordsia Cayman Viale Bond, which is basically an attempt by the English king to focus all the power in the northern part of the world in their own country. This is similar to the Greater East Asian Co-Prosperity Sphere in our timeline. In Africa, we have various colonies of the Chinese states, and in Arabia, there was a certain great man. I will not take his name, but in this timeline, the archangel came to him in his dreams and told him to spread the word of Nestorian Christianity instead of some other religion, a new religion. And he united all the Arabs, and that is how he stands, a Nestorian Christian state of the Arabs. Iran is still ruled by the Anshan regime, which has led it for thousands of years. In Iran, there is a very syncretic and progressive religious mixture of Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, and also Zunism. Then, Turkmenistan and the Ruthenian Federation are quite similar to the Russia of our timeline, which connect the Chinese and the Roman civilizations together. Now we come to the center of the world, China and Japan. Japan in this timeline is a great sea power with various colonies and ex colonies all across the world. Indeed, the Japanese are feared and respected by everyone on mainland China. Japan also owns the strategic port of Suez. In this timeline, Japan is similar to how Britain was in our own timeline. Shang is the Germany of this timeline, a hyper aggressive land power with the best land army in the world. It fears the Japanese but also hates it. The Shang wish to have their own hegemony and unite all of China for the first time in 2000 years. The Yu are southern warlords, an agricultural society which once dominated much of China, but now they're reduced to their southern holdings after being defeated in battle by the Shang. Yes, you might have guessed it, the Yu are similar to France of our timeline. Then, then we move on to the Yan, which is Italy of this timeline. So, Yan is once a great maritime power, now reduced to a sidekick to the Shang and to the Japanese. The Yan's problem is that they did not industrialize fast enough in the northern provinces of China, and now they reap the consequences of this. Qin and Jin are similar to Greece. At one point, it was the center of civilization where the great Lao Tzu went to do his penances. But now they are backwater hellholes compared to the rest of China. Vietnam. Vietnam was once fractured, completely fractured. But in recent times, a great dynasty has reunified all the Viet people under one banner. It is similar to Yugoslavia of our timeline. The Viet have learned their lesson from many others and have started industrializing their once backwater country. Nangoku is a colony of the Japanese. Then we come to India. In India, there exists a twofold political system. The first is the ancient regimes of Bengal, Odisha, Maharashtra, Hyderabad, Mysore, Telugu, and Tamilas. These are ruled by various monarchs, and they are diametrically and unifiedly opposed to the Hindustani Republic under Subhash Chandra Bose. And Bose is sort of the Nasser of this timeline in that he wants to destroy the old monarchies and unify all the Indian people under one banner, something that has not really happened since the time of the Mauryas. Bose's republican ideology is feared by many, even the Iranian Empire to his west. Then we move on to the union of Yokigai socialist states. At one point, they were a puppet state of the Japanese, a colony, a settler colony. But after the revolution of the councils, the Yokigai broke apart and formed their own revolutionary socialist republic. Yes, this is similar to the USA and USSR of our timeline. Mexico still remains a colony of the Japanese. And that is this great timeline. I really loved it, and you should check it out. The maps link is provided in the description. This was made by Tidewaterite. You can message him on Discord for more details. After that, we move on to Rota Sonne. So, Rota Sonne is an alternate history project sent to me by Toyota. So, Rota Sonne was started back in 2021, and it is heavily based and inspired by mods like TNO and Red Flood. It is set in 1952, with Red Germany standing as a great power and a beacon of socialism across the world, while fending off threats from both the nascent reactionary Anshan regimes of Western Europe and the Russian Republic, which was born from the humiliating defeat against Japan in 1905, resulting in the Tsar being overthrown. Countries like China and Italy stand as the last bastions of democracy left in the world, as even the United States has fallen to authoritarianism. As we can see, this world is really different. The British don't really have much colonies in this timeline, it looks like. And Congo is owned by the Belgians who are socialist. I don't really know. They have not provided details. Much of Eastern Europe seems to be socialist puppets of the Germans. India has been reunified in this timeline, and the Japanese still have their empire, and Australia and Canada seem to be the same as in our timeline, while Algeria is still ruled by the French. Moving on to Global Conflict Redux. Global Conflict Redux is a submod to the Novum Vexillium mod. It adds some completely schizophrenic parts like Polish Biden Transnistria tree, anarcho Christian US, Nazi Maoist Italy, and a shared post European Union unification tree. Polish monarchist Biden is one of those weird core fever dream projects. And yes, you can get to play it in this timeline. This is the focus tree for Polish monarchist Biden. You can place Catholics in high places, meet with the Pope, replace high ranking officials. The true Pias takes his crown, Polonization of the country, and purging people. And yes, and as Nazi Maoist Italy, you can storm the universities and learn lessons from Mao towards the holy revolution, the flight for freedom, the flight for holiness. Out with the beast. So I will leave a link to the Global Conflict Redux mod in the description of this video. You can check it out if you want. Then we have Fallout Ashfall by Barack Obama. Now he did not make it, but he wants me to show it off, so I decided why not. So Fallout Ashfall is a mod for Fallout New Vegas set on the eastern shore of the island of Hawaii. It features many new areas, items, characters, and quests. Ashfall tasks the player with surviving within the ruins of a post-nuclear civilization that has been brought to its knees by both radioactive fallout and volcanic ash. So, endless, don't let communism reach your shores. Is this the future you want for Hawaii? So even in the post-apocalypse, the Cold War continues, and I really like this map, man. This is really a paradise map. And these are some of the screenshots from Fallout Ashfall. I will leave a link to all of this in the description. And now we come to the last submission, which was sent to me by Rterra. And that submission is going to be Ongezelik. So Ongezelik is a Dutch six-part YouTube cartoon created by Studio Masa, detailing a few days in the life of a high school student, Maya, who is a friendless introvert. So again, this was not made by Artera, but he wants me to advertise it. And my philosophy, you can advertise anything you want in this grand fair. But specifically, Artera has made a great sketch of Ongezelik, which I'm going to be showing off, and then we are going to be ending this fair. Yes, so this is the Ongezelik sketch that is made by Artera. This was made by him in school, it seems, and I really like it. This is surely becoming a part of the thumbnail because why not? So that was it for the fair, guys, and I know that this time we had some very random and less amount of things, but in the next fair, I believe we will get more coverage, more submissions, and more fun. You can advertise anything the second time this comes. Thank you and have a nice day.